We are recording.
Yay,
Yes,
we're on.
It's working. This is all coming together. The stars are aligning.
We have the technology.
The future is now.
The future is happening.
All right, so what were you talking about? About
New normal and waiting
the
in
new
line.
normal, yeah.
Because I came to America to take a course on February 27th. I actually flew with your sister.
Right.
And like hung out for a weekend, her boyfriend and my boyfriend, and all chilled, and then ended up getting married and staying here. So I can't work in the US while my stuff gets processed, which obviously there's a lot going on in the US right now. So I anticipate that's going to take quite a long time. And my now husband lost his job. Well, he was furloughed, which is laid off.
Yeah.
So
I know the feeling.
Yeah, right. We're in this kind of, he's supposed to be going back to work, knock wood, which is fantastic and really exciting, but it's going to be, I am waiting in line for my immigration and to be able to work here. And I'm waiting in line. I haven't seen my family or sister since February, which is really crazy.
How does that work? They don't let you leave for 6 months or something, right?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to leave.
Say you're living there.
Yeah,
you can't leave now.
Well, and because technically I came in as a student, so I had to file, it's called a change of status, because of the pandemic, all immigration is pretty much suspended, outside, inside the country. So it's also because of the fact, I have to stay in the country or I'm technically abandoning my marriage. And the process will just be
oh, wow.
Torched in a CIS office in Texas or something. So I can't leave, and the border is closed. So my parents can't even come here to see me. I mean, obviously, they weren't here for my wedding. They zoomed in.
That's crazy how you guys did it, just like a Zoom wedding.
And it honestly, from the time we said we're gonna get married to getting married, there was 10 days. So all the usual
When did you guys meet? When did you guys meet?
2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so two years ago. Crazy story. I was a student here. I studied at Lee Strasberg, which is this very prestigious acting school I was lucky to study at. And I was only going to come for 12 weeks. I took out a loan to stay for the 1 year, but I knew that there was no feasible way I could do the second year. And Vincent D'Onofrio has a scholarship. And so he ended up picking me, which he paid for my second year tuition, and I was able to graduate. And because I went to school here for 2 years, the U.S. gave you an extension of your student visa, so you could work here for a year after. So through my work with the scholarship and the school, I meet and become very close with this super cool older lady who is the assistant to the president of the school. She looks like Michelle Pfeiffer. She actually was the merch manager for Joe Crocker back in the day. She's a cool bitch. Yeah. And so her and I started hanging out. She was kind of like my boss, and then we became real good friends. And long story short, I booked a big job that I wasn't able to get a visa in time for, which sucked. But when I first booked it, she took me out to her home in the Hamptons, which blew the back of my head open. I watched an old white lady lose her shit in a grocery store because they didn't have organic lemons. They had regular lemons, but I was like, holy shit, if my ancestors could see me now, this is privilege that I've never been exposed to. But so she exposed me to this whole other glorious world. And I was able
fame
to really,
and fortune world.
Oh my God. And then I had to it's like taste a shark tasting blood. It's like, okay, now I want this. How do I have this?
Yeah.
How do I have this life? I can't go back. Don't make me go back. I'm currently at the time I was house sitting for a former teacher. I was watching their cat to live rent free at their place. I'm super allergic to cats. But I was so poor. Yeah, I was so poor at the time that I was like, heck yeah, I'll watch your cat. No problem. But this lady took me out there and took really good care of me and let me prepare for my part. And then after losing that, I was already on set when I had lost that part, when I found out my visa wasn't going to come in time. And that was really devastating, which also meant that my future immigration was halted. So I had to return to Canada. And I returned to Canada for about 6 months and I was living on an air mattress in my parents' living room, a real fucking low. And this lady's like, come back to the Hamptons for Memorial Day weekend, which is our like Victoria Day.
Right.
Like come, fall back in love with New York. And the second day I'm there, she's like, oh, my son's going to come over and like hang out with us. And like, we fell in love and now we're married.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You turned that into a TV movie.
Literally, like the second day we were together, it was like, did Nicholas Sparks send you? Like, who are you? Where did you come from?
That's awesome, though.
He's like, who is that? Yeah, it's quite a love story, and we had always talked that like I never wanted a wedding. I think all that shit's pretty lame, to be honest with you. Like and like I don't need any like of that. We were just always gonna go to City Hall, and so this kind of it yielded all of that where we didn't have to feel obligated to like invite, your parents always want to invite like their friends who you've met maybe once or like some distant ass relative that
so it's like a super extended family. Then it becomes business partners that your parents know. It gets literally really weird. Like and every Italian wedding that I've ever been to, it's just like, who is this person? There's like 400 people in this banquet
it's
hall.
It's cousin Nina's second husband's fourth sister. Like
it's always that situation, and it gets weird. It just gets weird, especially if there's an open bar.
Oh, well, yeah, and that's the thing. Then you got to pay for everybody to do the open bar, which we will do. Like my husband's big thing was he always wanted a taco truck at our reception. So
okay, that's cool.
Actually, my parents know the owner of Casa Hugo, which is in Crystal Beach, and it's like just got voted the best patio in like Niagara for the last year.
Oh,
and
really?
It's like a bomb Mexican place. You should check it out because if you're local enough, if you get down there anytime. But that's where we're gonna host something, and then everybody can. But then it's awesome too because then it'll be it'll probably end up being like a year from now, and we can just like drink with all of our friends and just like celebrate. And there's no like. We don't have to do formal shit. No one has to sit through speeches. Like none of that garbage. None of that.
It's just a hangout,
things. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it'll be nice to catch up with everybody because that was kind of. I sort of felt like our wedding. We got married May 27th. So on middle of May, we're sending out these emails to people like, hey, surprise, we're getting married. Want to come? Here's the Zoom link. Like, see you in 4 days. And I felt like it was. We had like 200 people on the call, which is like mad cool. Yeah, we had people in France, Algeria, Japan, like all over the freaking place. And it was that I feel like by the middle of May in quarantine, people were starting to realize like, oh, this isn't going to be 2 weeks. This is going to be like a 6-month inside. Everything sucked hard. And I felt kind of like that. It was a little bit of joy for the people who are like, we're lucky enough to be loved by.
That's awesome.
People day drank. People took off work to tailgate my wedding, which is the best way to honor me as possible.
Maybe that's the future.
I think
more people are going to do online weddings like that.
Man, highly recommend. Because at first, we couldn't get a marriage license because obviously everything is like closed. So the New York City Commissioner's Office is doing weddings on Microsoft Teams. And I was just like, okay, well, literally, like I was saying to my husband, I'll throw some flowers up like over the blinds and we'll literally do it like right here. Like what could be better? So shabby chic. Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
It's pretty funny because had I, your sister and I hanging out like the day before I left, it was like, oh my God, weekend of drinking, like chaos. Because the last time she came with a girlfriend of mine, I think we were all single. So that was like a different trip.
Yeah. I think that was when you were still living like in Manhattan, right?
Yeah. And I am still in Manhattan. Now we're on the Upper East Side.
I thought you were in New Jersey.
No. No shade.
Because I was going to razz you about New Jersey.
Oh my God. Okay. So when I worked here before, a lot of my shoots were always in New Jersey. Because New Jersey's like Detroit in the sense that it's one of those places where you can make it look like so many other like American cities.
But it's like cheaper to film there?
So much. Even to ship stuff, a lot of times we'll ship it to Joe's dad in New Jersey to avoid the city tax. Because it's in like anything, it's like $15 extra. The taxes here are crazy. So everything I always shot, and I'm always murdered too. So I'm always like dying in New Jersey. And my rule was always that I wasn't going to New Jersey unless they paid me. That was always like my big line. And then of course I meet and fall in love with someone in Jersey. And the only place that would give us our marriage license was New Jersey. So I was married in New Jersey, but no, I'm still in Manhattan. You'll have to take me out of here in a body bag. There's no way I'm leaving. I've lived everywhere. I think I moved 28 times the first 2 years I lived here. I know this city. Yeah.
Wow. Like, yeah. What's the atmosphere there like right now? Is it like a nightmare trying to do anything?
There's nothing to do, I guess. Like, there's still there's outdoor patios in the streets, but there's really good ones, and then there's really janky ass ones where you're like straight up in the middle of an avenue, and like the bars have like laid down old doors as like a makeshift like parameter, so that feels super unsafe.
That's the same here. People are like just going for it. There's like police caution tape around like a couple pillars, and it's like, well, that's my patio now. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do?
Well, right. My husband likes to golf, so we'll like go golfing, or like we've been doing hikes lately, but there's like fucking nothing to do. Like, thank God he had a car. So like for the first 2 months, I don't think we left a 10-block radius. Like, and we're just going out for walks. The first couple times we went to the grocery store were pretty eerie because there was nothing. There was no produce. No dairy, like everything was like fucking empty. People freaked out, like, and I mean, it happened gradually, and then kind of suddenly. There were like kind of 2 weeks where it was like, well, this will just be a week, and then like we'll do it one more week, and then all of a sudden like April 1st was like, yeah, we're going inside, nobody's working. A lot of people couldn't get on unemployment here, so that was chaotic. It's really like you were really seeing. It felt apocalyptic. It still does kind of feel that way. It's so weird to be like New York, August, summer, and like I go and run in Central Park every day, and there's like nobody there.
Wow.
You could shoot a pandemic movie right now and like be
this would be the perfect time.
Literally.
How is someone not getting on that?
Yeah, because you can't have enough crew people to stand socially distant.
I Am Legend 2. This is the perfect time to do it.
Yeah. It's like the true biopic. It's pretty eerie. But I have to say, like, New Yorkers, I think, get a bad rep for being like dicks. There's nobody not wearing a mask. There's nobody not social distancing.
Oh, really?
Oh, from the beginning, it was like people were not here to fuck around. They would straight up yell at you. Like, even there's markers on the ground in grocery stores, banks, like all that kind of shit. And if you were a little bit too close, people will turn around and like bark at you. Yeah, they did not come to play. Even they were, I don't know if you guys had this, but they put a lot of restrictions on toilet paper and like Lysol wipes, where you could only buy one per person.
Yeah, we were doing that closer to the beginning, but it seems like the supply chain is caught up, and now nobody really cares about that. Like, things are really lax now, so buy all the toilet paper you want. Like, nobody really cares.
Free for all.
Yeah,
it was sort of nuts in the beginning, but yeah, now it's just kind of gotten to the point, I think, where it feels sort of unchanged. Like, yeah, things are okay enough that I feel like I go to the park with a girlfriend of mine. We'll sit on 2 separate blankets 6 feet apart, but we'll take our masks off and we'll each like have our own wine and our own snacks. But then like that feels kind of safe. But beyond that, it's like, we're not hanging out. I mean, or doing anything. Even our wedding, we were capped at 10 people anyway.
Right.
Which between the two of us, my husband's parents are divorced, so their current partners and our minister, and that's like was pretty much it. So it's like that's
nice
the most. Literally, that's the most we've been around, which is really like we're super spoiled in that way that we're able, like, we have the privilege that we live in a little closet that is like 200 square feet, but it's ours. It's our little corner of the world.
You think it's going to start getting cheaper to live in New York now?
It better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people are moving out, right?
Well, we read a thing in the Times, yes, since March 1st, there's a mass exodus. 200 people on average a day leave Manhattan since March 1st.
That's big. That's
big. And so friends of ours, like a month ago, our friends there, they live in a one bedroom, and their ceiling, the pipes exploded. And like, so everybody else's shit in their building was literally all over their kitchen. So they had to move. Which sucked, but the new apartment they got at 30% less than it's listed, and we're seeing that we're looking, because we're going to move in the fall, that most places are down 30% now to this point, which is like, $300 or $400 a month off your rent for what it's listed, which is crazy. Yeah. But I predict another couple hundred by time, like, we're moving end of November. I bet by then there'll, like, knock wood, hopefully be another thing. I mean, there's so many, you probably don't see like the press here, but like the New York Daily News, the New York Post, there's been these big articles that's like, New York is dead. It's all full of crime. And the only people who stayed are like drug addicts and bums. And like, people are freaking out. And honestly, it gets my goat so much, because it's like, I've had the privilege of this place taken away from me. I've not been able to live here, work here, even though I had the privilege and then I lost it. So I know how valuable, like, to me, this is like this is Disneyland for adults. Like, this. I totally buy into the American dream. That's totally
what it
right?
feels like, for anybody who's spent time in New York. It's like, it really is the city that never sleeps.
Totally. And there's always like, I miss like New York things. Like I was saying this to a friend of mine the other day, that I miss like riding. I haven't ridden the subway since February, which is fucking bananas. But like, I miss like crazy shit on the subway. Like, I miss some man accosting me about Jesus. Like, I miss that. To me, is New York, is like crazy shit. You can still take
the subway though, right? Did they close it or anything? Or is it just because, it's
they did for the first couple nights, the first couple of months, they closed it in the middle of the night for cleaning, because it was basically like essential workers only were only allowed to use it to get to and from their jobs. And obviously they wanted to like fog them, basically, which I don't think they'd been cleaned since like 1970. So it was probably like way overdue. But it is back now, running and working. And like my friend that I met in the park, she took it here from Brooklyn and said it felt really safe and clean. And she just said nobody's on it, which makes sense.
I guess that makes it better, actually. If there's nobody on it, then you feel a little bit better.
And they're being cleaned for like the first time probably fucking ever. I feel like if you had taken the New York we were taking it right up until I think March 15th was when we got shut in. But the coronavirus stuff was kind of starting to percolate like early March. So it was here. And the fact that I think we were, taking the subway multiple times a day and whatever made us sort of feel like, okay, if we didn't have it from that, our risks are probably so much lower. It made you feel a little like safer, I guess. But yeah, I've also like, where am I going to go? Like, what? I don't need to take the subway to like go to a job or go to school or,
fair. Just walk around, take it easy.
Literally.
This is a really good, like, laid back time where you can just kind of, stop and smell the roses, I guess. Cause there's really nothing left to do.
I got a camera for Christmas, a beautiful, like, Canon Rebel. And so taking that out, it's beautiful. And taking that out and just getting to know the camera and then taking pictures, like, it's been great through quarantine, like walking down Madison Avenue between quarantine and then after the death of George Floyd and when all the protests really kicked up here, down Madison and some of the fancier streets with nicer storefronts, they boarded up a lot of their shit, which then of course protesters and other people like spray painted it and like graffitied it, and like it looks super cool to see this like very fancy old New York, Fifth Avenue kind of street, and then like spray painted with the future across it. It's like super cool. So I love that. And I love the idea that like in response to all these people saying New York is dead, like I've seen artists be like, no, this is going to be like New York of the 70s, where it's like gritty
totally.
and crazy. And then like the shit that comes, like the art and like the music and the film and the culture and the people who last through that will be really successful. It'll then be New York of the 80s, but like you got to live through New York in the 70s first, which I'm so
the crime-riddled, super dirty garbage strikes and everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Postal Service strike, I went and got a package today, and there are literally like 15 packages in my lobby, rain soaked, and like the cardboard boxes are like mangled and like shitty, and it's just like it's real, it's here.
You gotta like deliver them yourself now and just walk over.
Oh my God!
For the package.
Well, my friends had sent me like half a case of wine for my birthday. And so somebody over 21 has to sign for it. So it was like chasing USPS for 8 days. And finally it's like, I just redirected it to like Dwayne Reed here, which is like a Shoppers. And so I redirected there and went to get it. And I'm like, I'm here to get my wine. And like the lady who had the car was like, I wondered who that was going to be for. She's like, I didn't know you could get wine in the mail. And I'm like, yeah. Just walking out with half a case of wine.
I don't think you can do that in Canada. I don't think there's any like wine delivery services.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe,
but I've heard of a bunch of them in the States. But the rules are different, right?
It's the wild, wild west here, Luke. This is a great. You can't turn right on a red light, but you can get wine in the mail.
Yeah,
These are small consolations.
You can't turn right on a red light.
Well, chaos. Okay, I hadn't also driven in so long, because even when I was going back and forth, there was like 2 years in between me living and working in the States and me like now. So I was going back and forth like 2 weeks out of the month. So I was just never driving. I wasn't driving in Toronto. I wasn't driving in New York. And then probably like a month ago, impromptu, I had to drive the car from New Jersey into New York, like midtown Manhattan, New York. And
sick.
Yeah. I actually called your sister on the Bluetooth. It was like, I need like somebody to talk to me just to distract me from the fact that like, if I think about the fact that I'm driving into midtown Manhattan after not driving for 5 years, I'm going to freak the shit out. But it was fine. I just have a panic attack, and I would
hate to drive there. It seems like a nightmare.
It's like Mad Max Fury Road. Like that.
Yeah.
Like no time of day is not like that. Like at all. So in the beginning of this, because we have such a tiny little apartment, we had our car parked in the street because they suspended alternate side parking, and because we're lucky enough to live in like a rich neighborhood, everybody fled. So there was tons of street parking, and so we would go and like literally just sit in the car and listen to music. We call it the terrace. But like for 2 hours in the middle of the day, you just sit, listen to music on the terrace, and like watch people on the street, like watch people fight for parking spots, watch, homeless people scream at passerbys. Like it was awesome. It was like, this is New York. Like,
oh my God, that sounds fun.
It was a blast. Awesome. It's really like when they take all your activities away, even like one day we popped the hatch and we're just like sitting in the trunk, just like on Fifth Avenue, Park Avenue, watching, people walk by, and it's like, what's their deal? Where are they going? Like, what's going on there?
Yeah, the people watching must be great in New York.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
There's millions of people to watch.
In every kind and shape. Well, one of our favorite things is when we're out walking is listening to people's conversations, because there's never not crazy ass shit people are saying. Or like if a couple is fighting, we will like keep up pace to like find out what the fight's about. Like I get invested in these people's lives.
Like just stalking them?
Actually I'm stalking them. That's really what this is happening, is I'm revealing that I'm really a peeping Tom. Which I will tell you, this is so creepy, and not that they would ever find out, but our apartment building faces another apartment building. So end of February, there's a vacant apartment directly across from our window. A new couple moves in and doesn't get blinds. So I'm like heavily invested in them, like paying attention. What is going to happen? What am I going to see? Like so excited. They get a dog at the start of quarantine. I've named him Teddy. We are like so invested in Teddy's life. Like, I'll be like, oh my God, Teddy's walking. Teddy got bigger. And like, my husband has come out of the room and be like, Teddy got a new toy today. And we're like pressed up against the window, like invested in this dog's life. So
you haven't met them yet?
Never. We don't obviously know that even if that's his name, if he's a boy, but we are stalking them. The park we hang out is the dog park. And like someday little Teddy and his mom are going to roll around the corner and be like, you are the people we watch. And they're going to be like, please stay away from us forever.
And then they call the cops immediately.
And then they take
I've been
Teddy
watching
away
you for a long time.
I've been watching you. I saw when you got the dog. I saw when you moved in. I feel like if they cared,
it's like the Truman Show.
It literally is. It's my very own The Teddy Show. But we'll like be walking, like we were talking about something the other day, and he's like, yeah, that building, it's right beside Teddy's building. Like, da, da, da. It's just so commonplace for us that we have invented a whole life for a strange dog we see through a window.
That's awesome.
Everything is totally normal here.
Sounds like so much fun.
Oh my! Yeah,
I do the same thing here though. Like in Hamilton, it's just like it's like basically exactly like Mad Max. Like there is no fucks given. It's as dirty and as rough as a city could possibly be.
Yeah.
You always just see crazy people just summoning spirits on the street. And you're just like, I wonder what that person does when they get home.
Yeah, there is
just punch holes in their walls or something. Like
there is a guy who hangs out around our neighborhood. We see him all the time. He kind of actually looks like Private Pile from Full Metal Jacket. Like
okay.
But he's always in a crop top and sweatpants. They always match. They're like gray, blue variants. But he's always singing. He's like stone singing to himself, like on the same kind of like four corners, or he's sleeping. He'll like straight up be sleeping on the street corner. And he's just like a neighborhood staple.
Nice.
Like, yeah,
nice.
It's like, okay, this like, oh, this guy's around. Like he's still here. It's like the constant like touchstone of a neighborhood.
Is there like a nickname for him?
No, we haven't come up. We're just like, oh, the guy. There's the guy.
Oh, the guy.
Here. Like the guy. It's just like the neighborhood guy. It's like our version of Mr. Rogers. Like the guy. There's that guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
The same thing in Hamilton. There's this one homeless guy that walks around all the time, and he always says, "Hey, brother," to everybody. Like, "Hey, brother, you spare a quarter?" And literally everyone in the fucking city knows this guy as "Hey, brother."
Right.
Like, oh, I saw "Hey, brother" the other day. It's like, oh, you saw "Hey, brother"?
It's such like a neighborhood. It's such a like a comfort to be like, I'm home. Like, okay, business is normal. Like, and actually there were a couple of days we didn't see him. And we were like, have you seen that guy lately? And I was like, no, I don't think I've seen him since like I went on my run like 3 days ago. So yeah, I haven't seen him either. Like, I wonder where he is. And we were like out walking and stuff. We're like, he's here. Like, he's still okay.
Yeah. Everything is good in the world if you can still see that guy.
Yeah, literally. I remember I had lived in the East Village the first 2 years I lived here, which is, the East Village is very much like frozen in time. I like half expect like Sid Vicious to stumble out of some of the places sometimes. It's like really strange, but I was finally like, okay, I have to like, I gotta be a real adult. I can't, keep living here and living like, this life. And I was like going to look at a new apartment to move out. And it's like 8 a.m. on like a Wednesday. I step out on the stoop and there's somebody trying to find a vein in their ankle, like trying to shoot up on my step. And I was like, yeah, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of the village. Like,
but that's classic 70s New York though.
Yeah, right. So you gotta take the good with the bad. Yeah, right.
I hope it becomes more like 70s New York. Like that was really fun time. And that's like the modern complaint of New York right now, because it's so expensive to live there that all the creative people, all the cool people that made New York cool
had to
just disappeared, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The same with Toronto. Toronto's going through the exact same thing. It's so expensive to live there that all the artists and all the creative people leave.
Had to flee. And that's kind of what I'm thinking, is that like New York for me anyway, and the New York I know and love has always been about like the misfits and the outsiders. It's not even like really the rest of America. New York to me is such like a microcosm and a little bubble of a place that I love that rich people have been pushed out by this pandemic. Like, get fucked, go away. I hope you think New York is dead. We don't want you. Go the fuck away. So then the people like us who are struggling to stay and make it staying, and other artists who are really fighting to be here. Like, so many of my friends are just supposed to we're going to, renew their work visas, and now they're stranded in their foreign country they were born in. And at least not till January can they even come back. So I think I'm not trying to discount that that's like really unfair and unethical, and like we don't have time to get into all that, but I'm hoping that the people who like me have pushed through to be here and make it here will have New York. Then it's like that the pie is theirs when they get here. To like, if you really want to make it what you want and achieve your dreams, like, it's here. And New York is New York is New York. I feel like it's gonna be here, and it's just a matter of like how hard are you really willing to work. I didn't sign up for like glitzy New York. I don't want Fifth Avenue New York. I want the Village New York. I want the Bowery. I want gritty New York. That's the New York I love.
Yeah. Me too.
I want Travis Bickle to take me to a porno. I want that New York.
Yeah.
We recently watched Casino for the first time. I don't know if you're familiar. Time? Yeah, I had seen it. My husband had never. He's not really versed in. Yeah, so that was side note, but it was just freaking De Niro, man. He's the best. But good. That whole era, I feel like that movie is that kind of thing of like, people who get money and get power and get crazy over it. I aspire to have that. I feel like that's what this place will be like in another 20 or 30 years.
Do you think New York is still like the center of the arts and culture scene in the world? You still think it's the hub? Because I hear people talk like a pretty big game about Berlin now.
I know. I think Berlin has always been that way. Like, I do think that they are really like the art and culture center of Europe. I'm biased that I would think. I just think that there's something maybe about America that New York gets that maybe like Berlin or Germany don't, in the sense that America has always had this like great mythology of the American dream, right? You come here, it's supposed to be the greatest nation on earth. If you work hard, you can have everything you dream of and more. I think that little bit of it makes people like put up with so much shit in New York, and it makes you better for it. It really makes you tougher. Like, it's unforgiving. It's super isolating, or it can be, and it's all about pushing through. But nobody's gonna push you. Nobody's advocating for you. Nobody's calling or banging on your door. You have to pound fucking pavement every fucking day.
Yeah, you're kind of on your own.
Completely.
Oh my God. Your own thing.
When I moved here, I was 22. My parents dropped me off like a month before school started, because I had like an orientation, like literally an hour orientation, like 4 weeks before school started. So I go to the orientation, which is like an hour. And then it's like, okay, I have 3.5 weeks. I'm 22 years old. I'm single. I'm in New York City by myself. I don't know a single person. Like, what the fuck do I do here?
And the fear response comes in, and you're like,
yeah,
what the fuck?
I guess if I was a normal person, maybe, but I always said, like, you have to be batshit crazy to live in New York, and I'm batshit insane. I was so, and am so excited about, like, I walk 20 miles a day. I know every part of this city. Like every, found all sorts of cute little like niche theaters that I love to duck into, or like independent store owners. I found this great like queer artist business that always like put out silk screen t-shirts and really cool mugs, and I was able to like scoop those up for a friend of mine for her birthday. It's just, there's always shit going on, always crazy shit to do. There's so much art, there's so much theater, culture, film. On a Thursday night, I found myself in like a warehouse in the Lower East Side watching two naked dudes with bird helmets on, like in an art gallery, and like behind them was playing a clip of like an egg cracking and the yolk falling on loop over and over and over again.
That's high art.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't get this. I'm here for the wine. Yeah. That's the kind of thing, like, there's no shortage of that shit, I don't doubt that it's going to take a minute for like stuff to come back. But to me, that stuff's always going to be there. There's never going to be a New York where it isn't kind of like gritty and seedy and hidden and like you have to like dig or find your little world. But there's no shortage of places and people that want to connect. And to me, there's so much that I had never, like things I never thought of, I'm immersed in here, if that makes sense. One thing I had really got into for a period was called bouldering, which is like rock climbing with, it's rock climbing without a harness.
Okay.
So you're like straight up, just yourself, no anything, and there's like a mat
on one of those fake walls, or like you went to
no, they have like it's not like going in Central Park like climbing 30 feet and hoping for the best. I'm pretty sure they like put me on like a 5140 hold, but these are like rock climbing indoor facilities. But I was working on a character and she was a farmhand, so it cut up my hands and I had really toned arms. But that was like, I was able to, instead of a gym membership, I did that for 2 months.
That's way more fun than going to a gym.
Oh my! And they only played like 90s like school like dance jams. So it'd be like climbing the rock wall to Spice Girls. Like, where else in the world can you get something like that? It was so cool and so affordable and accessible. And that's like, there's always those sorts of things. You just have to look for them.
Yeah. The hidden gems.
Right? Really. But they're there, and I think that's the most like beautiful thing is. Coming from where we come from, I didn't have a lot of access to the things that interested me. I knew I loved film. I watched as much as I could get my hands on. I read as much as I could, but it wasn't like we had theater, national tours coming through Welland. So
no, Welland is a shithole where nothing happens and nothing changes.
Literally, which can be beautiful, but for a kid who loved Hitchcock movies, there's not a whole lot for me to immerse myself in there.
Right.
So I feel very spoiled now to have nothing but time and just have to find these things because they're there. And it's like, what random thing am I going to take up this week just because I can?
It's like a big playground.
Like I said, Disneyland for adults. It's so real. Last call here is 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Which not only last call is 4 a.m., but then really popular in New York are after party places, which are just bars that are basically open from 4 a.m. to 10 a.m. Blacked out windows. They're always I would say, Luke, for if there are 10 bars on a block, 4 of them have after parties.
That's insane.
Like in a back room. So
is that like a gray zone legally, or do they actually have like a license for that?
Absolutely not. Like, no chance. But when talking to like friends of mine who are older, who lived in New York in the 70s and 80s, they're like, that's so commonplace. Like, that's something from that era where, in New York in the 70s, there were just straight up bodegas or like corner stores that you would walk in and like you would buy a shitty $1 bag of chips to front for the fact that you were straight up buying drugs. Like, they were just straight up like, the elevated dispensary model times 1,000,000. And you would just like walk in, and as long as you walked out with a bag of chips, I guess the cops stationed outside didn't bug you because you were like making a legitimate purchase. And like, that was just that gray area, like cops stood outside to protect it. As long as you got chips, nothing they could do. Like,
so how expensive were the chips? Like $100?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
What does it say on the receipt?
It's like, see, here you spent $1,700 on one bag of barbecue Lays.
Sounds legit. You can go.
Yeah, move along, sir.
Yeah. What are the weed laws like in New York?
Do
they have dispensaries and shit?
They do. They're like medical dispensaries. In New York State, it's more or less legal. Like, there's not dispensaries in any like the way that they are in Canada. It's nothing like that. Or even we went to Massachusetts, and where it's legal and you can go to this dispensary and all that's fine. I am in a legal gray zone because I have to adhere to the national law, which is that marijuana is illegal.
Okay.
So for the purposes of this podcast, that's the company line, but it is in New York State. It's free reign pretty much. I think if you have like X amount of pounds on you, it's like $100 fine. Like
really? Okay.
You smoke openly in parks and on the street. I mean, that's really all that there is to fucking do now anyway. So it's really commonplace here.
That's pretty cool. I thought it was still kind of strict.
Yeah, I think in certain states it definitely is. Yeah, New York.
Yeah, in certain states for sure.
Yeah, like we're around Massachusetts, which is a free for all, where they have like legal dispensaries like they do in Canada, and like no questions asked. That's chill. Vermont is nearby, same deal. I think we're getting there, and like I'm sure within the next 2 years it'll be like a dispensary situation here. There is a place called MedMen, which is
nice.
like a medical dispensary. But a lot of the ones here, typical America, the American way, it's so capitalist, where you can have access to our dispensary if you have a membership.
Okay.
There's like a vetting process, and it's like X amount of $100 a month just to be a member on top of then what you will buy.
Really?
Yeah, it's like that crazy ass, like as if it's a fucking Equinox to get a vape pen. Like it's it's like the craziest ass thing. But I have friends who use basically like WhatsApp. And there's a legitimate grocery delivery service called Fresh Direct here, but this is like a WhatsApp app basically called Fresh Direct. And it'll be like, do you want pizza? Do you want this? Do you want burgers? This or that, which obviously correspond to other things. And it'd be like, I want 2 pounds of burgers, please. And be like, somebody will be at your place in 40 minutes. And someone shows up with a fucking suitcase, unpacks it, get what you want, and walk the fuck away. Like it's so commonplace. That's so common.
That's
here.
So
like,
weird.
Everybody has a delivery dude who will like meet you anywhere within half an hour, and it's like put up as a front of like a delivery grocery thing. Honestly, it's pretty fucking brilliant. I think it's a bunch of NYU kids that started it. And I heard that it started as, there's this chain in New York called Insomnia Cookies.
Okay.
Which is like a late night cookie delivery service. They have like legitimate storefronts around Manhattan, but it was started by a bunch of NYU kids as a front for their pot delivery service. And the cookies are just so fucking good that they had to legitimately make it a business. But that is like they deliver like fresh, warm cookies up until like 3 a.m. wherever you are in New York City.
Are they pot cookies, or the cookies are just a front?
No.
And underneath the cookies is like a bag of weed?
Yep, it's a 2 for 1. It's a twofer. Okay. You get both. You get legitimate cookies.
That's actually the perfect business model. Snacks and weed.
Oh my God, 2 for 1. Who could ask for anything more?
It's perfect.
Literally, it's flawless. So that is a legitimate thing that is like well known and commonplace here.
It's so funny how like weed is now.
Like, yeah, I grew up with a.
Yeah, sorry. There's like
That's okay. Go ahead.
I was talking about this on a podcast like a month ago about how weird it is to buy weed now, especially in Canada, where you can just buy weed from BC whenever you want, and it comes to your house in like a couple of days. And that's how I get weed now.
Nice.
But like 10 years ago, you'd have to go to like your buddy's place, like somebody that your friend like kind of knows, just because he smells weed. And you go up to his house in the middle of the night, and he always had a big dog, and you're like, what the fuck am I getting myself into? I just need like a gram.
And where is this area of town? It's always in a place like I found that I was never in before.
Track, like, every time it's next to the train tracks.
Every time.
And now that's all gone. Now it's just so like sanitary in a way. It's like, go to this store that's down the street, and some hipsters behind the counter talking to you about sativa strains. It's like, what the fuck? What dimension am I in right now?
Literally, the simulation is glitching. Because also, I was going to say, growing up with my dad being a cop, weed was like...
Yeah, that's got to be hard, right?
Doing heroin. Like, it's so was so scary and so intense. And like always, the couple of times I had been around those situations, it was always like, I'm gonna get fucking murdered. Like my body parts are gonna be found in the back of a trunk in the Welland River in like 12 days because I wanted to buy a joint. Like it's that kind of like sheer chaos. So it's really fucking strange. Like when my husband was my boyfriend and visited me, I had said, let's go, we have to check out these dispensaries. Like you will not, but like Canada has been working on this shit like it's the cure to cancer. Like they have mastered this dispensary. And we went and we're like blown away by the experience, and then, you know, smoked half a joint and sat in silence for 4 hours. Like, and all of a sudden we're like, that was good. Like Canada has really like figured it out, but it's the weirdest. It still kind of feels like, I don't know if you have this, where I had a fake ID, so I would buy booze when I was like 17 or 18, and it was great. It always like anxiety rushed through my body every time. It's that I feel innately like my you know, the PTSD of thinking it was like heroin is like embedded in my body, that it's still like a horrifying experience.
Really?
Yeah, I don't even engage in it. Well, especially now because of being here. Like when those people, the delivery people used to come, I'd like hide in the other room. Like that's how the genuine like fear that I feel.
Do you have like underlying anxiety issues? Is that part of it, or
Luke,
is it
what
just?
Do you think?
I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure I do. It's also just having lived and worked here and been totally fucked by the system. Right. They don't care. They will do anything to keep you from being here and from you know, whatever the fuck. So I always am looking over my shoulder, and always making sure, you know, that like there's like they're not gonna get me. I know that sounds so crazy, but like they're totally
come for you in the middle of the night. Like.
Funny you should say that. The other day there was like a you know, ashy little pipe on the thing, and I moved it into like across the room, thinking if they bust in here in the middle of the fucking night, it's right beside me, it's gonna look like it's mine.
Oh my god. You're way too paranoid.
Totally. And you know, I'm not blaming the product. I'm just I'm just so scared. Like
that they'll kick you out.
Yeah. I've been kicked out. I've been kicked out before and lost, you know, such a big opportunity that set me back, you know, at least 3 years, probably 4 once this is all said and done. And that was a very scary, traumatic experience where my future and my life was like kind of taken out of my hand, right from my hands, and I couldn't do anything to stop it. So
what were you working on at that time? You were doing something for Netflix or something, right?
I had auditioned for a couple really big Netflix things. This thing that I'm talking about, I'm NDA'd to hell, but it was a major motion picture, and I was the female lead. It's a big Hollywood like movie, and my male co-stars were huge. That's a whole other story for a whole other time. I'm trying to like sit on it and be good about it because I've been NDA'd, but someday it will like crack open, and there'll be something to say about that then. But yeah, it was just this.
So they haven't done any filming for it or anything.
They already did it. It was like 3 years. They did it. It's been released. I got through most of it. But yeah, I really tried. I wanted to give it air. that was just like an important, I think, like closure thing where I was like, I want to see it. I want to experience it. I want to whatever. And then I couldn't make it all the way through.
Wait, what was it called?
I can't tell you. I've been NDA'd to hell.
What does that mean? You just can't.
Like a non-disclosure agreement. Yeah, not allowed to. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's one of those like.
That's dumb though. Like it's already out. Like.
It's already out, but I mean, some girl did do that part, and that's her movie now. So I understand in the sense. I mean, pretty much every actor, if you look at their IMDb, in like the fun facts is always like they were the first choice for this role, and like scheduling conflicts or like this or that or like that that's so popular. So it'll be one of those things, like, you know, but being I mean, I try and think about that actress a lot. I even thought about writing her a fucking letter because I'm just like, you know, I don't want to be like a bad feminist, and I don't want to be like, this was my job, but like, it's that weird feeling.
That's bullshit.
Oh my God, it was fucking devastating. There's like no way around that. It was really fucking devastating.
So your visa expired, or your visa didn't come through, and
the first one had expired, and I was applying for a second one, and because part of my visa is the jobs that I have lined up, including that job, so because they couldn't wait anymore, it was right after the election, so they couldn't like wait anymore because there had been new delays and extreme changes to the rules post the last election. Yeah. So I was caught up. Yeah, I was caught up in all of that. They're used to, like, if I had a job as a Canadian, it would just be like, no problem. I could do the job. I'd have to like promise to leave the country when I was done, but I could come and go as much as I want. That visa's gone. Like 2 of 3 actor visas don't exist anymore. And the threshold for them, the only one that's left is an extraordinary ability visa, which the threshold is for Academy Award winners, or if you're a Nobel Peace Prize winner. That's kind of the qualifications. So I'm not quite there yet. And so they kept requesting more evidence. So they wanted like more proof that I was talented or had ability. And that would have,
what a weird request. Like the government comes after you. Show us your talent.
Show me what you've got.
Show me what you got. Yeah.
It's like Rick and Morty fucking get swifty. Literally the big heads in the fucking sky. Because my 2,800 page fucking visa application wasn't enough fucking evidence for them. So, and so the pushback when they were asking for more evidence would have delayed an approval or rejection. It left me in limbo, and I was already on set, and they were like, we have everybody here, including like X, Y, and Z huge star, and like we don't have time to waste, so we have to let you go and recast this immediately. And because that happened, I had to rescind my visa application as it was processing with false information because I wasn't doing that project anymore. And after I rescinded it, my lawyer was like, kind of like, cut your losses. Without that project and the magnitude of it, you don't have that strong of a case, and you're gonna, like, a rejection would completely like fuck you for life. So it's better just to like ride this time out in history, go back to Canada, work some more, and come back to the United States in 4 years or 8 years when things change and the law, like the immigration goes back to normal. Or even Trump talked about revamping immigration to be merit-based, which is like on education and shit. Which stuff like that would have benefited me, but now I'm married, and so I don't have to do all that hoop jumping. But I was just very lucky to fall in love with an American. He shared the like greatest gift with me, but fucking crazy, super crazy. It's all my friends who are artists are totally fucked, especially right now, because they pretty much all had to go back to the country they were born in, even though they've been like living and working here for 6 or 7 years. They have to go back, and there's just like no work to be had. It's really strange.
It's crazy. The whole visa process is like, it almost makes it seem like the states don't want any immigrants at all.
Oh, they absolutely
like, it's
don't.
Like I looked into it years ago because I was like, when I was a teenager, I just wanted to move to California.
Yeah.
I think every teenager wants to move to California. But
I still am hoping to move to California.
Yeah, if you know, people actually stay there, because they have a mass exodus too.
Yeah, no kidding. No freaking kidding. Where in the world is good? But yeah, it's really insane. Yeah. And I a lot of, you know, during the last election, living here and knowing my future was in jeopardy based on it was a crazy sensation, because I'm so privileged in that I didn't even like really identify my privilege, you know. But then going out for jobs here, I was turned away from, I wonder if I can say it, I don't give a shit, Quantico. I had booked a job on the show Quantico and showed up, and because I had a Canadian passport, they turned me away and fired me.
Whoa.
So it's like
on the spot, just like, no.
Yeah, we're like, nope, only American citizens. That's for like all the major 5 networks now.
Were they all wearing mega hats at the same time?
Fuck. Like, but that was all leading up to, and a direct result of the election was that things started to like auditions would say, like, submissions, don't submit unless you are a citizen or green card holder. Like, wow, which you could be here on one of those O1 exceptional ability artist visas and still not be able to go in for these jobs or be hired. Like, which is super illegal, by the way, right on the Department of Homeland Security forms that you fill out. Like, if you have working papers, you're able to work. But it's, I think, a top-down issue. And on one hand, I get it. For production, you don't want your lead actor to not have a visa renewal and, like, be tied up in that because it's costly. Sure. It takes a ton of fucking time. And there's no guarantee that you'll get it. So, like, a lot of what's happening right now in Silicon Valley is that these people can't renew their visas. And so they have no fucking employees. And people who immigrated here at 18, you know, and studied, got their bachelor's, got their master's. And keep in mind, when you're a student here, you can't work. So you're just like funneling hundreds of thousands of dollars into the economy, sitting here not working in hopes that you'll get a visa down the fucking line.
That's a dangerous game.
No shit, because easily you're putting $100,000 on your education plus living here, which, as we talked about, is not fucking cheap. You're not allowed to work, and then right out the gate, a lot of visas, especially if you're a student, like how I talked about, I got a work visa because I had been a student here. You can only do work that applies to your education. So, like, I could only do acting work, which is why I moved so much, because I'm so fucking poor. But it was like I did like, you know, like hand modeling and like started to go out for like commercials. Yeah.
Just that.
Like all sorts of like weird shit that would constitute, I guess, under my umbrella, like of acting umbrella, but it's not like I could wait tables and support myself. Like I really did feel and do feel that they set you up to fail. They don't want you here. A lot of, I think, people are like, you know, wait in line, like, and I'm happy to wait in line and pay my dues and do all that stuff, like paying them, you know, physically or financially, monetarily, with money, and also like I okay to play the game. I don't mind being a student, so I know that I could work, and I don't mind finding my own work, but there really doesn't seem like there's a real line for you to wait. There is no like legal pathway anymore.
It's all crumbling around you. Like,
it is. What a time to be alive. What a time to immigrate.
It's amazing. It's a very exciting time.
Yeah, I feel honestly quite privileged to be here and be witnessing what's going on. I think being in a very liberal.
Well, what happened?
Sorry about that. My mother-in-law was calling me.
Okay.
So sorry.
All good.
So
all good.
How
is there a way like you could secure your citizenship? Like if you got a big role, would everybody just be like, okay, yeah, that's fine? Like or do you have to like call up Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah,
help me out real quick. Like, how did you do it?
I feel like it didn't even like. Well, again, it was pre fucking this administration.
Yeah,
like it was a Democratic president, you know, and maybe pre 9/11, even up until like 2013, it was so fluid and so much easier, especially for Canadians. It's really, really the result of the last couple years that these changes have come from. So I don't know. It wouldn't have mattered, the big job kind of thing, but now that I'm married to an American, it's like basically kind of like the golden fucking ticket, which my husband fucking loves. That's what I call it.
The golden ticket.
It's the golden ticket, but it is that in many senses, but it's certainly that in the sense that because of that, you know, I'm transitioning to a permanent residency, which is a green card. I have, you know, I think the first one is, you know, for 2 years, and then I will reapply so long as I'm still married, which I will be. and knock on wood. And then from there, I can transition to naturalize or become a citizen.
Awesome.
So yeah,
awesome.
And so that's really
it's quite the ordeal. There's like
oh my god,
a lot going on in that. Like,
dude,
it's a full-time job just figuring out how to fucking live there.
Literally. And thank God we have like the best fucking lawyer in the world. He actually responded to one of my emails last week with a meme of Mr. Burns going excellent, which is how I knew he was like my fucking lawyer. Yeah, he's really, really cool. But so I had forms and my husband had forms, because technically he's like petitioning for me and I'm adjusting my status.
Okay.
So one of the forms, no joke, was a 40-page document of yes or no questions. Have you ever committed a crime? Have you, even if you weren't found guilty, did you come to the United States to be a prostitute? Did you come here to practice polygamy? Are you involved in any gangs? Like, it's so fucking, all these questions are so fucking hilarious and crazy.
Who's traveling to the States to be a prostitute? I want to know that.
Yeah, right. I'll send them your number.
There's better prostitution options in New York, so.
Yeah, I feel like there are better places for you. But it's just, it was like a 4-part question too. The prostitute thing was like, did you come here to be a prostitute? Like, are you a prostitute? Have you been a prostitute? Were any like former spouses or parents involved in like prostitution or sex trafficking? Like, did you come here to traffic girls? Like, it was all like crazy shit like that.
I want to meet the person who answers that.
Checks yes.
Checks yes. Like, yeah, of course. That's exactly what I'm here for.
Have you ever committed any crime, even if you weren't charged or cited? I'm pretty sure I just admitted to like 17 crimes on this podcast. Like, it's that, like, who as like, it's really fucked up.
I wanted to ask you, because when I asked you to be on this, you said that doing a podcast would help with your immigration. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so when I was applying these artist visas, so it's like a 5-part visa thing. It's like future jobs, expert letters from people in your field, your transcripts, your press. So press is one of the biggest pieces, and it's like every photo, every still. I sent them copies of every work. And then they want media. They want you to be fucking interviewed, and also keep in mind, I'm sure everyone who works at USCIS is like, I imagine Bernie Sanders. Like, they're like 70 years old in Vermont, no experience for actors. So they're just getting this document and they have to try and understand who you are and like who the people are you work with and like what world you exist in. So you're basically making a case to yourself for someone who has like no idea what you do or has never seen a fucking movie. So part of the press is to like legitimize you. Like, oh, I've been on this, a movie I was in the New York Times. The New York Times syndication reaches this many people every day, and it's sponsored by this and that and whatever. And so like that works to legitimize you in their eyes, I guess. So things like on podcasts and interviews and all that shit is all like funnels into that. So
perfect. Well,
thanks.
I have some like government entity listening to this at some point. Like
peeping in, I'm sure.
What's
Thanks
this all about?
Who the fuck is this guy? Who's Luke Jamilton?
This crazy asshole in Canada.
I don't think you are crazy or an asshole. But I also think, I was thinking about this morning, is like, I don't think you and I like have had more than like the same conversation for probably 15 years. It was like, hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? Not much. You, not much. Like, I don't know that I've talked to you as like a fucking person in the time that I've known you. Like,
not an extended conversation at all, just in passing,
Yeah, I mean, at a meat fest or two, but...
Well, yeah, like, you and my sister would always be doing something, right?
Yeah, always causing problems.
Causing problems.
Yeah, I was thinking the only real connection, like, I remember running into you in a Tim Hortons, which is the most Canadian motherfucking thing I've ever said.
I remember that day,
yeah. I ran into you, but before that, I think the last time I had ever, like, actually consciously talked to you was... Maddie and I had snuck out
other than subconsciously.
Yeah, right. Where I'm always subconsciously communicating with you, Luke. Maddie and I had gone out your window onto like the little ledge of the roof to smoke a cigarette, and your dad caught us up there. And I think you were with your dad, and just like, what the fuck is like he was like, what the fuck are you guys doing up there? Like, get down. And we're like, yeah, we are down. Like, and you were just like, this is uncomfortable. I don't want anything to do with this. Those are my like,
I don't remember that.
Well, I mean, I think we were like 16 or 17. So I just like, oh, fuck this. Fuck this girl drama.
That's weird drama. Yeah. Yeah, there was always something like that happening at the house.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, your host was so formative to my experience and like my it's like all of my memories are, even to this day, if like when Maddie was here with me at the end of February, my dad is like, be on your best behavior, because he knows every time we're together is like, somebody's breaking a bone, somebody's losing their cell phone, something's stolen from a bar, like some shit is going the fuck down. Like, the other day about like makeshift breaking in your house when you go, like somebody would lock the door and you guys would go somewhere, and so her and I would like pop the back window out, and I would sneak through the window and unlock the door. It's like,
I had to do that so many times because I was always forget my keys.
Always. Oh my fucking God.
So I had to figure out ways of breaking into my own house. There was one point where the garage door at the front of the house was like slightly broken, so you could actually physically like move it up. The automatic part of it wasn't working.
I'd have to go whatsoever.
I'd have to go in that way through the back window, stuff like that. Yeah, there's always a way of getting into the house.
Yeah, always. Which is also something I appreciated about your house, is like I always found myself, it was just like the safe place. It's the friend's home that like, and like you get along with their family, and like, you're just like there all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're like part of the family.
Literally, well, I was in your family portrait one year. Like, lest we forget. Oh my fucking God, that was awesome. That was so good. I think it was like a Christmas card for your relatives in like Ireland or something, and it's like the four of you, and Ginger was like on my lap, and I was just like in the middle of your family portrait, like, and no context. Y'all just like sent it out to your relatives. Like,
I gotta find that picture.
Yeah, please do.
That's gotta be floating around somewhere.
In a Christmas book somewhere.
Yeah. In the giant heap fucking mess at my parents' place somewhere.
Oh God. Well, I think I've seen 3 different basements in that home. I've lived through 3 basements.
Did you see the shag carpet? Were you around for the shag carpet?
Yeah. I think that was the original era, was shag carpet.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fucking disgusting. Wood paneling, shag carpet. Yeah.
I love it. What an aesthetic vibe.
It's a 180 difference. Now it's like all modern.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. The last time I was there, it was gorgeous. And the like, shout out to your parents' back deck. I mean, I've seen it in a couple different like, reincarnations, but it's always like the chillest place to go. I don't know. I mean, it's your house, so maybe you don't feel that way, but I fucking love hanging out on your guys' back deck. That rocker thing.
I guess we were spoiled when we were kids.
Take
it for granted sometimes.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I suck.
Yeah.
Super privileged person.
Yeah. Cool.
No, I appreciate it more now because like I haven't been living there for 5 years. So every time I go back, I'm like, God damn, they have air conditioning. This is awesome. Like they have so many luxuries that I just don't have. I live in squalor.
up until recently, when like living with another person, like I don't know that I ever like kept food in my fridge. I said that the other night to my husband, like, you have no idea the fucking thrill it gives me at 9 o'clock at night to be like, oh my God, I have cheese and salami in the fridge. Like, let's fucking go. Because I've never, ever in my life had that privilege or ability, like living on my own. Because I lived on my own for, almost like 10 years and was either eating to go or leftovers, like more or less with the fridge door open, like standing up. just like I was eating to not drop dead. Like I never was actually like making food to like live and function, and like 3 square meals a day. Fucking what? Like insane. And now I am the person who has cold brew in my fridge at all times. I'm like such an adult.
So bougie.
It's the growth, I tell you.
Well, I'm the same way. I never have food in my fridge at all, like ever. Like every day is the new mission of trying to find food.
Like, where am I going to scavenge today?
I got to go hunting on the streets for food, sandwiches or whatever.
Freaking hilarious. And because you used
I don't know
to work
why.
in
I'm just too fucking lazy, like to do groceries. Like, no, I don't want to do groceries. I'll go to a bodega or something later. Like that's my entire day.
Yeah, I'll get some 7-Eleven taquitos and that'll you know hold me over.
Yeah.
Do you think it's from working in restaurants? Because I found that like I was never had food in my fridge because I was either like working in a restaurant or on set. So I was like getting fed other places. And I feel like working in restaurants makes you never want to cook your own food.
Yeah, pretty much. Plus, you just get free food all the time. Like you're snacking at work, and then you get home, and you're like, I don't really want to eat anything. But I have that problem with like cooking now. Like if I'm ever cooking for somebody, I don't want to eat. Like you just eat this because this is like what I do at work. It's like, here you go.
Yeah.
It's like that's watching other people eat is part of the job, I guess. So now I'm like, every time I cook, I'm like, I'm not hungry. And then I just put it back in the fridge and just fuck off.
Leave it for later. That's
Leave
funny.
it for later when I'm actually hungry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's funny. Creatures of habit.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully one day I don't do that and I can be a normal person again.
There's hope. There's hope for everybody. My friends, your sister included, used to say that I had like a Barbie dream house where they'd come in my apartment and like there was all the things that like needed to make it a real place, but it was like it had never been fucking touched. Like the pans, plates. Like she was like, I don't ever think I used the fucking oven the whole time I lived there. Like not once.
So it's kind of like you lived on set. It's all fake.
Yeah, I lived out of a. Literally. I'm so method. I literally live on a set.
Yeah. You just order sandwiches. If you have like a craft, what do they call it? The craft service? Yeah, craft service table. You just had that set up in your apartment.
That would be fucking deadly. I'm one of those bitches who like, in between meals, craft service will lay out like, you know, healthy ass snacks like trail mix and like other shit. But without fail, there's always like a bowl of like Tootsie Rolls or fucking lollipops or those little like rocket chalky ass candies. And I am a fucking child and have no self-restraint and like we'll find rolls of Tootsie Rolls stuffed in my coat pocket like 3 months later. Like I will stuff it in my bag and my coat and all my shit. Like I'm, you know, have no money to buy groceries and I will live on Tootsie Rolls for like 18-hour shoot days. I can't restrain myself. It's too good. It's like, it's the doctor's office. It's like, oh, free candy? Yes, please. I've been poor. I would die. Like, it's too accessible. I don't have enough restraint to say no.
How good are those craft service tables? Like, do they just put out a huge spread?
So most of the time, yeah. If you're super lucky, so I should say it totally depends on the job. Most of the time, if you're going in for anything legitimate, they fuck shit up. Like they are craft services is like a legitimate, like a lot of times it's like a local catering like company or restaurant that's going to cater. So it's like good ass food. They'll rotate like caterers. So it'll be like Mexican day. And then they'll, you know, if you have any dietaries, depending on like how far up the call list you are, you'll get something like super special. But for the most part, it's like buffet style, mad tasty, fresh. Like, and because I think with acting, like, not that it's, you know, it's not like we're doing like surgeon's work, but you're on your feet and you're like fully immersed and like really fucking working. So when a hot meal comes your way after like being on your feet, you're like, yes, please get in my fucking face. Like it's always excellent. And I don't know if that's just because you're like working hard and you're so excited to see food, but it's in my experience, always slapped. Like always been so good. When I first moved here, HBO shot a lot in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
HBO has the craziest, like, they have fuck you money to blow. Like, it was like 2 city blocks lined up of food trucks were their craft services. They hired like 10 different fucking food trucks, and like basically you had a plate and like your fucking ID, and you just like were heaping on whatever you wanted from whatever food truck. And like, that's the way to go.
What's an average day like on set?
So normally, like, say it's a TV show or a movie, it depends in what capacity, you are needed, but say, super lucky you're like a series lead or a leading role in a movie. So on a typical shoot day, the night before you'd get the call sheet, which will, let you know what time you got to be there. Normally it's like 4 a.m. or 5. Because basically they want you on set and like the camera's rolling for like 7 when the sun is up and it's like the best light, and like you're gonna get a full shoot day. So you're there at 5. You're in, hair and makeup first, which is like my favorite fucking part. Totally underrated, but like some other gentle human putting like cooling masks on your face at 5 a.m. and like gently massaging your head to like wake you up is like the best way to start any fucking day. It's so Luxury. Good. I love hair and makeup because they're always like so nice and like soft spoken, and like they are super excited and really good at their job, which then makes you really like it's like it clicks into place. The last little bit is like, oh, okay, all of a sudden I'm like in this super bomb costume with like a Wilma Flintstone hairdo. Okay, I'm a 50s housewife, so like I get it, that kind of deal. And then you'll shoot from like 7, and then you can go, as late as 11 or midnight, especially if there's like some interiors or night stuff, and then go home and do it all again the next day. You put in like 18-hour days. It's pretty crazy.
That's insane. 18 hours? Like, yeah, are you on the whole time, or like are you actually like in character the entire time? Yeah, does that help you, or can you turn it on and off?
I can turn it on and off. I can do my own thing privately, but then I want to go to set and I want to connect with other people. I don't want to be just doing my own thing, I want to I spend a lot of time with the other people if I'm going to be in a scene with them, particularly if like a lot of times I play somebody's wife or girlfriend. So I want to spend a lot of time with them. These are 2 people who are like supposed to like be around each other a lot. You should have that kind of like
figure out the chemistry and everything. Yeah.
Totally. And also because like I said, a lot of times I get murdered. So that's pretty intimate with a lot of people. So even the last like big job I did, I was based on a real case, and I was murdered by this guy who in real life, he's probably like 6'5", and he beat this girl to death with a steel bat.
Whoa.
In her bed at night, and then did some like pretty horrible shit to her after she was dead. But that's like the lead up to it. So this actor was also physically very different from me, and physically very scary. And so I like wanted to hang out with him. I wanted to spend a lot of time with him and like experience that discomfort of just like what that would feel like in the middle of the night if all of a sudden there was that big guy at the end of my bed. But just I wanted also from like an actor perspective, I wanted him to feel comfortable to really do whatever he wanted to do and explore that, so that I could explore the fear of it, make it as real for both of us. But I had to trust him to do that. It's like counterintuitive, but
sounds terrifying.
Yeah, well, I remember I asked him to put both of his hands up, and I had him like I held his hands, but had him touch every like part of me, just to get that like sense of this is a really big fucking person, and putting this person's hands on me and feeling that feeling and the foreignness of that leading into that is really helpful. But it's always start and stop like on set, which is really helpful for me. I don't think I could live in someone else's. I can hardly live in my own for 18 hours a day, let alone another being. So I find it really helpful to let go of that stuff, to enjoy being on set, be friendly with the crew people, because like they are the real fucking MVPs. You're just like a prop that eats, and you're stand here and say this. Like really, we're like the last line of defense that everybody else is really doing the grunt work. And so being friendly and polite to them and working with them, I think they don't get a lot. So that's really fun. And sets are just really fun. It's a lot of like-minded people who just want to do the same thing and are there for the same kind of goal.
That's how you make connections too, right?
Yeah.
Like being super friendly and outgoing with people.
Totally. And it's like how you build your network, especially here in New York. I find a lot with television and film, a lot of the like extras or supporting cast are like the same cast, right? It's like, oh, we want New York to look legitimate, so like we plug Joe Pesci in. It's like that kind of deal. Yeah. So you're seeing the same people and you're becoming friendly with the same people, and then the crews start to know you. And it's like I've been on sets where I was hired for one thing and they're like, hey, can you stay for the afternoon? We just need we'll cut your head out, but we just need like a body and legs for like this thing. Like, do you want an extra couple $100? Like, yeah,
we need legs.
Sure. Like, we need legs. Legs, stat. But and that's so the best thing is like work yields other work. Is like you're meeting people who are working on their own shit or like are gonna work on other projects or know somebody who needs somebody. I have never had a job that did not yield other work. I was even an assistant stage manager for free for an off-Broadway show in the fall because I couldn't work here, but I was here. Mm-hmm. So I went to the theater every night and swept them off the stages and like set the props, and through that made a contact that I'm like workshopping another separate play off Broadway from sweeping the floor.
Damn.
Yeah, but it's the great part of that industry. It's like, oh man, we needed an actor who like could play 15 and like didn't know anybody who could do that. And then I saw you sweeping the floor and like was like, oh, this girl's great, and like bring her in and audition her or whatever. But they were having such a hard time finding somebody, and there I was.
There you go.
There, that's so common.
Tate, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Let people know how they can get a hold of you.
On my Instagram, on Facebook. I'm still working under my maiden name, so please reach out, and I would be happy to hear from anybody.
Thanks again for coming on. I'll put your Instagram information in the description for this episode.
Thanks so much, Luke, for everything. Stay safe, stay well, enjoy your man cave.
Thanks, I definitely will. And take care.
Oh, I will. Hold on, I'm going to take a pic quick, because basic. Smile. Thank you so much. Okay, be well, Luke.